Hi folks, this is Jobin here. Today we're going to take a look at the Sanrenmu 763. I should note at this time that this is the black G10 handled version. This is the one most commonly available today. There were some other versions produced, one with tan G10 and one with aluminum handles, possibly others, I don't know. But those two I just mentioned are discontinued, and so this is mostly what you're going to find if you try to purchase one of these. I would classify this as an everyday carry knife because I believe it is very well suited to using in public without alarming anybody. And the blade shape has an adequate point for piercing things you might want to open, packaging for example. Well suited to opening mail, cutting string. I frequently use one to trim ends from paracord projects when I'm done doing the weave and have to trim off the excess. Now, the knife has a number of very nice features. It has the axis lock, which is a truly excellent locking mechanism, and it's implemented very, very well. It opens and shuts easily, and you can also disengage it with one finger if you really want to. The knife has a lanyard bail, and the tip-up carry pocket clip is reversible to the other side if you so desire. I have noticed, however, there is a tendency for the pocket clip screws to be very hard to remove. I suspect they're using some sort of thread locker on them, which is really rather unfortunate for something they should be expecting people to want to swap to the other side. Now, this knife is also very lightweight at approximately 2 ounces. This is due to the fact that there is relatively little steel in the handle of the knife. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but around the pivot and locking area there are steel inserts, and they stop more or less about here at this mid screw, and then on this one it's G10 up to the end here where there are other metal plates that form the lanyard bail and the surface which the pocket clip screws go into. In construction, it's a little bit like the way a Benchmade grip pillion is set up, and it results in a adequately strong but very lightweight knife. Indeed, quite a strong knife for its size. This is thick G10 here, and G10 is very strong itself, even without the aid of a full steel liner. Now, another interesting feature is this knife has a bottle opener, or a cap lifter as they're sometimes called, on it. Now, personally, I think this is sort of an overdone feature. Designers love to slap them on pretty much anything, regardless of whether it's really needed or not. But in this case, it's done in a very classy manner. If you haven't spotted it yet, it's right here. This little projection on the back of the blade works together with this part of the handle to form a pivot. So you hook the little metal projection there into the cap, and you lever upwards. Really, that's very clever. I like that. Overall, I think this is an excellent knife and a truly outstanding knife for the money. Build quality wise, I would class it up there with the Spyderco Delica. I really would. And I think they fill a very similar role. I don't have my Delica with me right now, but they're fairly similarly sized. The blade profile is different, the Delica is much straighter, and the handle is a little longer. And speaking of the handle, we come to the place where I have to give this knife a few knocks. Not bad ones, but basically I could sum it up by saying I think the ergonomics are good, but they're not great. The handle is a little short. If you have larger hands, this might prove to be a problem for you. It doesn't really affect me. I can get all 4 fingers on there, and I have pretty average hands. But it's kind of tight. The pinky almost wants to slide off. And while the knife is perfectly comfortable in the grips you're most likely to actually use, just standard light slicing and cutting. If you really needed to get a death grip on the knife, really hold it tight, there probably will be some slight hot spots on the handle for you, probably around here. It might be nice to see this design refined with a bit of a bevel placed here just to round it off a little bit. But overall, it's really not a big deal in my opinion, especially for the type of use a blade in this size is likely to be put to. Overall, this is truly one of my favorite knives. I find myself carrying it and just not wanting to put it in the drawer. It tends to come along regardless of what other knives I think I'm going to need that day, just because I really don't like being without it. It's fun to play with if you're bored. That axis lock mechanism is downright addictive. And it's a very practical knife. And as I mentioned, it's unlikely to scare people if you need to use it in public. So if I, for whatever reason, am carrying a larger, scarier looking knife, and I need to do something around a sensitive looking sole, then this one might get drafted for the purpose. So, overall, there you go. The Sanrenmu 763, an outstanding value, and a really excellent pocket knife. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope you found it informative. So, this is Jobin for Lazy Lizard Gear saying, you have a nice day now. And, do you know where your knife is?